Hi, welcome for our RTL online trainings and placements. So in our previous part one, we have done all the setups for this particular assignment. So we have discussed how to hire an employee, how to create a user account. While generating the user account, we faced some issues and we also seen how to resolve those issues and where the setup was missing. And then we have seen how to add the roles to the employee. After that, how to go for create a supplier, then supplier site. Before we make this supplier site creation, we made it as buyer, employee buyer setup we have done. After that, we have seen how we can go for create a supplier site. So once we create a supplier site, then we have added account payables roles to the employee and data access. So these are setups point of view. Once we do the setups, we cannot ask our client to directly work with the transactions, because before we deliver this to the client, we are supposed to test it, right? That's why we are supposed to perform the transactions also. We are supposed to perform the transactions also. Means we have to test it. When we test, then only we'll be able to deliver this to the client. So that's the reason we are going to perform the transactions over here it is. Okay. So now what we have to do is, let me just log into the applications here. Mr. Ramesh is going to log in. As we have already added account payables roles in our previous part one, in setups part, we have already done that, right? Now we are going to log into the applications with our employee. As we have already added account payables roles and data access. Let me just log out and log in. First, we have to check whether the roles has been applied for our employee or not. So in our previous session, part one, we have added the roles, right? How to check the roles has been applied or not? Go to Navigator, payables. See, account payables roles has been applied for this employee. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to raise an invoice for this particular supplier, whatever we have created, right? So create an invoice. Invoice is nothing but a bill which will receive from the supplier. For example, we ordered some goods. Supplier will supply the goods to our warehouse. Okay. After that, you will send the bill also to our company. Then that bill needs to be entered in our ERP software. It has to be verified. It has to be approved. It has to be accounted. Then we will issue the check or cash, whatever the payment mode is there, that we will follow. Now we are just entering the invoice. Okay, so go to payables here, invoices. Go to task list. Create invoice. There is an option here, create invoice. Go for create invoice option here. When we try to create an invoice, we'll enter business unit, nothing but our branch, supplier name, supplier site, and invoice amount, currency. All this information we are going to enter while creating the invoice. So it looks like instance is very slow. Generally, it will be faster, but Sometimes it will be slow here. We're going to choose the business unit. Select our business unit here. Select supplier name, IBM Corporation. So whatever the supplier we have created, we got here. We can't enter new supplier. So employees, whenever they log in, they can't enter new suppliers and new business unit. Whatever the setups we have done, that they are supposed to follow. The legal entity and LC, the automatically we got supplier site legal entity, invoice number. So I'm going to mention IBM _1, amount $1,000. There are different types of invoices, prepayment, credit memo, debit memo, different types of invoices are there. Now we are going with standard invoice and saying that immediate payment. We wanted to clear immediately today itself. So the invoice will be raised by entering the information at header level. So total amount is $1,000 and line amount also I'm mentioning $1,000. We have to specify the account here because we might have purchased the goods or we are paying the rent or we got some service that we have to mention clearly in the accounting combination, right? So let's say we have purchased some furniture or some goods from the supplier. For that, we are going to raise this invoice. I'll go for save the invoice. Once the invoice is created, first it has to be validated. The information, whatever we have entered in this particular invoice document, that information needs to be verified as per the setups. It's valid or not. Means currency, date, the invoice payment term, business unit, supplier sites, and all these details, headers and line level, whatever the information we have entered, that needs to be verified. Means it has to be validated. It has to be validated. So when we want to go for validate this, it has to be a first action here we have to perform. Now we can see that the invoice status is not validated. If we click on this particular status, it will shows what are the options we are supposed to do after creation of the invoice. We need to click on this particular status. When we click on this status, system will shows us. So your invoice is not validated and it's not accounted and payment also is not done. We are still in the initial stage. Approval does not require right now. It seems it's auto approval. So how to validate the invoice? Go to invoice actions. There is an option called validate. Now what system will do? It's going to verify all this invoice information, whatever we have entered in this IBM _1 invoice is valid or not. That's what system is going to verify. Here it is. Okay. So it's an internal process. We have nothing to do as external. In case if there are any issues, for example, we have exceeded the amount limit for this supplier. Generally, while doing the supplier setup, we can set up the limit. That time system will show you for the supplier side, you can't pay at a time this much of amount. It's been exceeded. And it will show you like this, needs revalidation. Your invoice is not validated. Whatever the information you have entered, there is some issue. How to find that? Click on this status. System will show the reason why it is required again revalidation. Now system is going to show that it's showing that there is one reason because of that your invoice is on hold. Because of that your invoice is on hold. Okay. Let's go to the option called system holds. Now it's showing that there is a variance. There is a variance. There is a difference between your invoice lines, header level amount and line level amount. Let me cross check what exactly the amount variance we have in our document. Header level, we specified $1,000 we are supposed to pay, but when it comes to the line level, it's showing that $1,090. It means $90 tax is calculated. I don't want to pay the tax here. I wanted to remove. Let's go to the tax region here. Let's go to the region called tax region here. I don't want to calculate the tax for this particular document. Let me remove the tax. Edit. I'm going to make the tax as 0. Now make it as 0 here. Go for save and close. Now the invoice header amount is equal to the invoice line amount, total $1,000. Now let's go for save the invoice document here. Now again, we'll go for validate the invoice. Now the moment when we validated here this, you can see the status again here, it's validated successfully. Now the invoice is validated successfully. Click on this. Now invoice is validated, but accounts are not generated. How to generate the account? Go to invoice actions, post to ledger. Post to ledger is an option which we'll be using to generate your invoice accounts, which will be used to generate the invoice accounts over here. Our system is going to generate invoice accounts over here. Accounting is completed. We can also view the accounting entries, which are very important because finally these accounting entries, we need to transfer to the ledger. We have to go for reevaluate this all accounting information in GL module. And then we have to go for finally generate the trial balance. Right. Now the invoice has been validated. Approval is not required. And also it's successfully accounted. Save this transaction. This is our first one. How to create an invoice and validate, create invoice accounting entries for that particular invoice document. Here we can create either invoice accounts in draft or we can directly create and transfer to GL also. If at all you are going to make the full payment in a single installment, if you are going to pay the full amount to your supplier, you can do it from here. But what is our assignment task? We want to do the payment to the supplier, that's fine, but we want to do it in installment. 2 installments we would like to go for, make the payment. That's the requirement, right? 70% now in the first one and 30% later. So we can't choose this particular option. It is not possible. Okay, so we have to make sure that this is our invoice number, copy and go for save and close. And go back to our navigator. Let's go back to navigator here. Once we go back to navigator, we have done the invoice document. Now we are going for payments document. Go to the tab called payments document. Go to this tab called payments document here. Go to the task list here. Create a payment. So which business unit? From which business unit we are going to make the payment to the supplier? So and so business unit, US1. And who is the supplier? For which supplier you are going to make the payment? IBM. Supplier's site also we have to choose here. Supplier name and supplier site here. We don't want to accept any discount at this point of time. We are going to make the payment 70%, $700. We want to make the payment here. From which bank account we are going to disburse this amount to the supplier. We'll choose the disbursement bank account. I'm going to make this amount from Bank of America. That's the bank account. So every company will have bank accounts, right? Either one or multiple bank accounts. They'll be issuing the checks from that bank account to the suppliers. And they'll be following some payment process method that we are going to choose here. So they are going to issue the standard check. Payment document here, check. And here we have to choose the invoice number. For which invoice you are going to make the payment. Click on this. And there is only one bill for this supplier pending. Amount is $1,000. Now we are going to make the payment only $700, right? So we are going to make the payment only $700 to this supplier. So here we have to specify 700. Balance will be there. $300 balance will be there. That will do it in the next payment. So 2 installments we are going to perform here. 2 installments we are going to perform. Here it is. Go for save and close here. Now we are going to make the payment here, $700 to the supplier here. Payment has done successfully here. Okay. So now the balance amount is $300. Second installment we want to go for perform. Whatever the payment we have done, we can search here. Let's go to manage payment option here. In manage payment, we can search for the payment information. Today, we can search with our payment number, or we can search with the supplier here also. IBM. I want to know what payments we have done for IBM company. Today, what payments we have done for this supplier? We have done one payment, $700. I want to create accounting entries. So accounting entries are required for both invoice document as well as for the payment document. So go to actions. We are going to create accounting entries and transfer to GL. Okay, so there is some accounting setup issues there. It's not a problem. So that's an GL module. Somebody has not changed the accounting entry setup. That might be the reason. Not an issue. So this is how we will make the payment. $700 we have paid. Now we are going for our second payment, $300. Another $300 we are going to make this payment. Let's go to the task list here. Create payment here. And choose our business unit here. Then choose supplier name here. Here we'll choose supplier name, and we got only one site, right? So we'll get automatically here site name populated. And now we are going to make the payment for this supplier, same bank account, disbursement bank account. We are going to do it here. Okay, so payment process profile. So sometimes when we are going to make the deposit to the supplier account directly, we can go for remit. Remit is nothing but deposit. We'll transfer the amount. Right now we are going to issue the check. So for which account you are going to do the remittance, nothing but a deposit. That time we are going to use this remit account. Okay. So now we are going for payment here through the check. Choose the invoice number. Now the moment when we choose this invoice number, it should display only $300 balance, right? Because payment $700 has already done. See, showing that unpaid amount is $300. Press OK. So second installments, we are going for make the payment. So total full payment we have completed for this particular invoice. This is how we can go for perform the transactions. But generally create invoice, create accounting entries and make the payment, search for the payments and create accounting entries for payments, transfer these accounts to GL. This is all the job of end users. Once we implement this Vision Financials to the client, then client employees are going to log in and they are going to perform all these operations, right? But as a functional consultant, when we are doing the implementation, once we do the setups, once we perform the setups, we are supposed to test those setups. If you want to test those setups, first we have to perform the transaction. We created supplier, then we created supplier site, then we added the roles to the employee, then we added data access to the employee, and then we have done the multiple installments, right? That's what setups required. So those all things we have done this successfully. Now system is going to allow. But there was some issue with accounting entries. Accounting entries are not generated. Somebody might have changed the accounting setup in the ledger level, or they might have created some sub-ledger accounting, and there they have not specified the balance type conversion properly. That could be the reason, okay, for not creating accounting entries properly. So of course, we'll be talking about that in offline in our next sessions. Okay. So we made a payment and already we created accounting entries. The moment when you choose post to general ledger, automatically those information will be transferred to the GL. So this is about our assignment in one of the assignment in account payables, which we will be performing setups as well as the transactions. Okay. Thank you.